It's 48-hour readathon time. I don't know that I'm going to read all of these, but I am certainly going to try. We're gonna see how far we get. Like, it came out of nowhere. There were no clues. The more I read last night, the more distracted I became. And eventually reading was just not working.
And with the winter comes the ice, the snow.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sam and I am doing my first ever 48-hour readathon. I have done 24-hour readathons. I have never done a 48-hour readathon, but I think this is gonna be really fun. So for those of you who saw my August TBR game, y'all know that I have to read 23 books this month, which is a lot, and some of them are very large. So I have been doing little challenges this month to try and get that reading done. I also have a week-long vacation in the middle of the month. We leave on the 20th to go to Colorado and we don't come back until the 28th. So I am trying to get as much of this reading done as I can before we leave. I am intending to bring my iPad mini with me so that I can read out there, but it's a vacation. I don't know how much I will get read because it's kind of like an adventure type of vacation. We're not just gonna be sitting around a whole lot. So trying to get as much read as I can before we leave, so I thought a 48-hour readathon might help me knock out 5 or 6 books is what I'm hoping. For this 48-hour readathon, if you've seen my 24-hour readathons, y'all know that I have some rules for this because I value my health and my sanity way too much to kill myself for a reading challenge. So rule number 1, I do not stay up all night. I don't even stay up late. I go to bed at the same time. Sometime between 10 and 10:30 I will be in bed because my husband works full-time, so we both get up at like 6:30 in the morning, so I am not staying up late, but I do get up kind of early, so it might balance out a little bit. We'll see. Second rule is that I do not set any sort of timer. I'm not trying to read for 48 hours and like, oh, I'm not reading, so I'm gonna stop the timer and I'll only include the timer when I'm reading. Like, I don't do that. I just set 48 hours. So once we start this challenge at like 8:15, 8:30 today, I will go until 8:30 the 2 days from now, basically. So no timers, no loss of sleep. Those are my 2 rules for this. But other than that, it's pretty basic. We're gonna take 2 days and we're gonna see how much I can read in that day. I cleared my schedule for the next 2 days, so I should have plenty of time to get a lot read, and I have a lot of really short books that I'm hoping to breeze through pretty quickly. I chose all of the books on my TBR that I have left that are under 400 pages. I read roughly 100 pages an hour, so each of these books is less than 4 hours of reading. So the theory here is if I'm really good about getting as much reading done as I can, I should be able to read like 6-ish books. I'm trying to get 3 a day, and some of these are much shorter. Like this one is a middle grade and it's not even 200 pages, so, and I'll probably read it faster because it's a middle grade. So hopefully I can get a good amount of these read, but let me show y'all the stack. So the first book on this stack is not under 400 pages, but I'm almost done with it. So I have 100 pages left, so we're gonna count it, and that is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So I started this yesterday and I didn't quite finish it. I was hoping to finish it yesterday before I started this challenge. Didn't quite get there, but that's okay. We'll finish it out today and we'll count it. And then the rest of the stack is all under 400 pages. I don't know that I'm going to read all of these, but I am certainly going to try. We're gonna see how far we get. I think after Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I'm gonna knock this one out really quick. It's just a middle grade horror and it should be very quick. And then we'll see how I'm feeling. If I want to stick to the horror / thriller genre, I'm gonna go with The Maidens. If I'm kind of tired of that and want to go with something a little bit lighter, I'm gonna go with Chasing McCree, which is a young adult romance. So we'll see how I'm feeling. And then I also have one book that I just got as an audiobook from my library, so that's the Book of Cold Cases. So at any point over the next 2 days that I can't be physically reading, if I can be listening to an audiobook, I will do so, and we'll go from there. I doubt that I will finish an audiobook in 2 days if I am also trying to read a bunch, but at least I'll get some of it read. And then the rest of the stack, I kind of tried to choose like a mixture, which is good. We've got some thrillers, we've got an adult thriller and a young adult mystery type of thriller. We have a random sci-fi, and then we have 2 more romances. So I do have a good variety here, so if I start to get tired of one genre, I can flip to something else. And none of these books are very long, so we'll get a good portion of my TBR knocked out, I will feel a little bit better, and then I can start tackling a couple of the longer books on my TBR that I have left. I don't have that many. I do still have 3 books that I need to get from my TBR treats. So now that I'm actually looking at the stack of books that I didn't choose for this challenge, there's quite a few left. This is gonna be really interesting. All right, well, let's get started.
But I'm here to hold. You know, my love, don't worry about the cold just yet. The trees haven't started to shed.
Okay, so it's 10:20 and I finished Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Took me a lot longer to read 100 pages than normal, but I find that with all of these books, it takes longer. I don't know why, but I forgot how this one ended since this is a reread and it was crazy. So now I really want to read the 3rd one, but I can't yet. So we're going to read Deep and Dark and Dangerous next. This is just a middle grade horror. I don't really remember much about it, but it's less than 200 pages. So we're gonna go knock this one out real quick and then probably eat lunch. And then we'll figure it out from there. I don't know what I'm gonna read after this. Probably The Maidens. We'll see.
Just feel the summer sun as it warms our bed. I'm lying.
Second book down. So finished Deep and Dark and Dangerous. It's about 12:15 now. I finished that probably 45 minutes ago, and then I've been listening to the Book of Cold Cases, which I'm 45 minutes into because I was doing some laundry. So this one wasn't as good as I remember it being in middle school, but it wasn't bad. Very short, very quick read, still kind of good. And then this one is more interesting than I thought it would be. It feels very true crimey, which I kind of like. So probably gonna listen to a little bit more of this while I make lunch because I'm starving, and then I think I'm gonna start The Maidens next because I'm really excited about this and it's short. Granted, all of these books are short, but I think that's where we're going from here. So 2 books down.
And I'm lying when I say I'm not afraid. But I'm trying.
So it's now 3:50 and I finished The Maidens and I have thoughts. So I don't really know how to talk about this book. So this book follows Mariana and she's like a group therapist and she's recovering from the death of her husband a year ago, or like a year and a half ago, and then she gets a call from her niece at college that her niece's friend was killed, like murdered. So she goes up to like comfort her niece, but then ends up kind of involved in this investigation, and she is positive that one of the professors at the college is behind the murder, because he has like this little secret society. It's like these girls called the Maidens who he like privately tutors and stuff, and there's all like very secretive, very sketchy stuff happening there. So she's positive that it's him, but nobody will listen to her, so she's like trying to prove that it's him. So that's the setup. So like, you know it can't be the professor because that would just be too obvious. So like, we know that. And if you're one of those people, like obviously it's a thriller, so obviously there's going to be a twist. That's how thrillers work. But if you're one of those people that thinks talking about twists in any way, shape, or form is a spoiler, skip the next couple of minutes. But I'm not trying to spoil things, I promise. But the actual reveal just felt like a cop-out. Like it came out of nowhere. There were no clues. There weren't any clues to this at all. Like it came out of nowhere. It still doesn't really completely make sense to me. And there were just so many little plot lines that ended up going nowhere. So like, I'm gonna be honest, my first thought when I closed the book was, oh my gosh, 5 stars. Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, that's amazing. I love being surprised by things. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, well, wait, what about this plot line that just kind of went nowhere? And what about this plot line that kind of went nowhere? And wait a minute, there was absolutely no clues to this twist whatsoever. Like, this wasn't something that I was like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. This was, where the heck did that come from, kind of thing. One thing I did think was kind of cool was there were like little connections to his other book, The Silent Patient, which I really liked, and I thought that was kind of cool, but it was mentioned enough, like the connections were brought up enough that I thought it was going to play more of a role and there would be more of a connection between the books, and there really wasn't. So that was almost disappointing too. I don't know what I'm gonna rate this book. I have no idea at the moment. Like, my first thought was 5 stars, but then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, there are so many things that I would put in more of like the 2-star category. So I'm just like, I don't know. So I'm gonna think about that one. But now I need a new book. And I thought about reading Chasing McCree, but I might save this one for Colorado just because I already have it as an ebook. So it'd be really easy to just get on my iPad. So I could read another thriller. I've heard really good things about this one. Could read a mystery. Or I could go with a romance. This one's supposed to be pretty good too. But I don't know, I'm kind of still in a thriller mood, which I didn't think I would say that because I have not been in a long time. But I am a little bit in a thriller mood. So while we're in that mood, we're just gonna keep writing it. I think I'm gonna start this one next. I think.
To shelter you from pain, and oh my love, the seasons come and they go.
Finished Behind Closed Doors, so it's now 8:30, and this actually took me like a lot longer to read than it should have. This book is less than 300 pages and it took me a good 4.5 hours to finish it, and I think like it's not a bad book. It's mostly just that I am starting to get distracted, I notice this when I do readathons like this. By like book 3 I start to get a little antsy, but we still have a long way to go. So thoughts on this book. This is domestic thriller off the charts. It was not what I expected at all. It was way darker than I anticipated. It actually made me really angry at the beginning, and like that was the point, like it was supposed to, but like oh my goodness, this was dark. And I actually really liked the ending. So solid thriller that I enjoyed. Would highly recommend this one. I haven't really thought about like star ratings for any of the books I've been reading so far. I think I'm just gonna kind of do all of those at the end really when I put everything into Goodreads, but I'm thinking this is somewhere in the 3.5 range ish at the moment, but I could change my mind on that. We'll see. So I need a new book, and I don't know if I'm still feeling thrillers or if I want something a little bit different. Okay, so here are my thoughts. I know I said I was going to save Chasing McCree for Colorado since I already have it in ebook form, but if I'm gonna read a romance, this is the one that I'm kind of in the mood for. I'm not really in the mood for an adult romance or like a new adult romance right now, which is rare. That's very rare. But I also kind of want to read The Hawthorne Legacy, and I know that that will be a very enticing read. Do I go romance or do I go mystery? You know, I think I'm going to go romance because I've been reading so many thrillers. I think I need a little bit of a break. Oh, I did not realize how tiny the words were in this book. My goodness. They're really tiny. I don't know if I've ever actually read this copy. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go romance, and then I'll go Hawthorne Legacy. Romance first, then Hawthorne Legacy, and we'll see how we feel after that. I don't know, I could change my mind, but we're gonna start with this. Good morning. So it is 8:30, which means it has officially been 24 hours. We are halfway through this challenge. So, have not done a ton more reading since last night, but I am using a receipt for my bookmark. But I'm like 50 pages into this, which I'm still enjoying, but again, the more I read last night, the more distracted I became, and eventually reading was just not working. So, hoping to finish that very soon today. I also have been listening to my audiobook this morning while I was getting ready, so I am 21% of the way into the Book of Cold Cases, which I'm actually really liking. I didn't expect to like it that much, but I am enjoying this. So, goal for today is to finish this and then start the Hawthorne Legacy. I'm probably going to listen to a little bit more of my audiobook. I have to take my mom to work, so I'll have some time in the car. And then after I finish Hawthorne Legacy, I don't know, I've got 2 romances and a sci-fi left. And I don't know that I'm really in the mood for any of those, but we'll see how I'm feeling after I finish it. We'll get there.
But I hope you know that I won't.
And I finished Chasing McCree. I took my mom to work and then I went to the library for a change of scenery and found a nice little spot to sit there where I finished this up, and I still loved it. I mean, I don't know that it's like my favorite anymore. It's still probably one of my favorite YA romances for sure, but I never really realized, like, I was obsessed with this book in high school. I never realized before, like, how obnoxious Chase is about, like, being a cowboy and a rancher, and, like, how that's so much better than everything else. Like, he's so funny when he first meets Briar and she's like, she's really drunk and she, like, gets dirty and she thinks she smells, and he's like, that doesn't bother me. I've mucked out horse stalls and branded cattle. And it's just like, you could have left all of that out except just saying, it's fine, like, don't worry about it. But it's like he does that with everything. Every time anybody asks him about something, he has to bring up cows and the ranch, and, like, he's a little obnoxious about it. He is, but it's still kind of fun. But I still really, really like this book. I talk about this book a lot because it is such a relaxing read. Like, there's definitely conflict in it, but that conflict isn't related to the romance at all. So that's why it is one of my favorite romances. Is it's just a nice little palate cleanser in between some more stressful books where you can just kind of relax, and I love that. So finished that. I also was listening to the Book of Cold Cases in the car and while I was doing a couple of other things, so I'm 28% of the way through this now. I doubt I'll finish it today, but I am really liking it. I think between how far I will get in this plus the last 100 pages that I read of Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I'm going to count those as, like, one book read. So we count those as one, then we've read like 4 or 5 books now, or we will have once we get further in Book of Cold Cases. So next book I'm going to read is The Hawthorne Legacy. So I'm going to grab some lunch and then I'll start this. I'm really excited for this one, and the chapters are super short. I feel like they might even be shorter than the last book, so it should fly by pretty quickly. So we'll see how that goes. So I just finished The Hawthorne Legacy. Actually, that's a lie. I finished it like a good 45 minutes ago, but finished The Hawthorne Legacy. It's now like 6:45 in the evening, so it has definitely been taking me a lot longer to read things today than it did yesterday. But I did really enjoy this. I thought it was a great sequel to the first book. I actually kind of liked parts of this better than the first book, and I feel like it really fleshed out the mystery a little bit more. I'm not really sure where the third book is going. Like, the second book, there was a very obvious, like, we got answers, but then there were new questions that came up at the end that made it very obvious where the sequel was going to go. I didn't feel that at the end of this book. Like, it felt like a halfway decent ending, so I'm kind of like, I mean, there's, like, one little tiny thing that we're still kind of curious about, so I guess that's going to be part of book 3, but it doesn't feel like a whole book's worth of plot. So I will be very interested to see how book 3 goes when it comes out and how that ties everything up and where the rest of the plot comes from. I will be interested, but I did really enjoy this, and honestly, I am fully absorbed into thrillers again. Like, this was the greatest thing that could have ever happened. I want to read more thrillers now, so that's good. However, 2 important things. So, 1, I am definitely getting burnt out. I have now read, that was my 5th full book, plus I read 100 pages of Kingdom of Flesh and Fire at the beginning of this, plus I've been listening to parts of my audiobook, so technically this is like the 7th book that I have read or been reading over the last 2 days. And the day before I started this challenge, I spent almost all day reading most of Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So this is going on 3 days of basically just spending all day reading, and I am burnt out. I truly don't want to read right now. Like, I don't. But I'm trying to do a challenge, and I don't want to give that up. I don't like to fail at these things. I actually get very upset with myself when I fail at these things, which probably says a lot of things about me and my perfectionism, and may not be a great thing, but I have some thoughts. So I've got 3 books left on the TBR that I made for this challenge. Obviously, I'm not going to finish all 3, but I still have Uninvited, which is a sci-fi-ish type of thing, and then I have my 2 romances. They're both, like, new adult to adult romances. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm not in the mood for any of these at the moment. And I don't think, I mean, it's almost 7 o'clock. I wouldn't be able to finish any of these before bed. Yeah, they're all over 350 pages, so I wouldn't finish them before bed. Most likely. I mean, there's a very slim chance, but that would mean my concentration would have to be perfect, and clearly it is not. So, let me go get the rest of my books on my TBR. Okay, so we do still have 3 books that I have not purchased yet from my TBR treats. The books that we have left on just like my monthly TBR, other than those 3 that I haven't bought yet, we have Defy the Night, which is over 400 pages. We have Demelza, which is very long. We have Spinning Silver, which is also pretty long. I'm thinking it feels pretty thick. I mean, it's 450-ish pages, but it's also very tall. And then we have the rest of the Blood and Ash series. So I absolutely will not be finishing one of those before the end of this challenge. Even if I got up early tomorrow and read first thing before getting ready or anything, that's just not gonna happen. And I definitely can't read something off my TBR because I still have to read all of these this month, so I still have a lot of reading to do. So I think what I'm gonna do, because I am exhausted of reading, like, reading has exhausted me, I'm done for the moment. What I'm gonna do, I need to do something else, but I don't want to quit the challenge, so I'm going to listen to my audiobook while I do something else because I can't focus on a physical page right now. It took me from like 12:30 to almost 7 o'clock to read this book. And I mean, there was like a good hour break in there where I had to go pick up my mom from work, but that's still way longer than this book should have taken me. So I know that I am burnt out. So I'm gonna listen to my audiobook and probably clean up my room a little bit because my bookshelves are getting a little bit messy. That's why I'm filming down here and not up there because there are books everywhere up there. So I'm probably gonna clean up a little bit, listen to my audiobook, get ready for bed, and, you know, we'll just see how far we get with the audiobook. I don't think I can finish it because I still think I have like 7 hours left of it, 6 hours, but I might be able to get a good portion of it done, so that's what I'm gonna do. It is now 8:30 the next morning, so we have officially hit our 48 hours. I did give up. And I don't really want to say that I gave up because I still read like a ton, but I did stop reading at like 7:45 last night and just quit. But we still got a lot read. We still read for almost 48 hours. I just think 48 hours is just too long. I like 24-hour readathons. 48 was a bit much, honestly, and I didn't want to read, and now I really still feel like I'm gonna need like a break today. But here is everything that I was reading in this little vlog. So the 5 in the middle are the ones that I completed. This one I had already started before the vlog, and this one I haven't finished yet, but I'm like 35% of the way into the audiobook, so I'm counting these two as like one since I've read enough of each of one to count as like a full book. So we're gonna say that I read 6 books in this vlog, which is actually really great. Like, I'm perfectly happy with 6. I said I wanted 5 or 6, and that's exactly what I managed, so we are happy there. I don't know that I'll do 48 hours again. I do think 48 hours is a little bit long and exhausting, and I definitely got burnt out by the end of it, so I think 24 hours is kind of my limit there. But glad we did it, glad we tried it, definitely don't regret it, and I still have a lot of books to read this month, so, but we are now 5 books less that I have to finish, so that is fantastic. So if you made it this far in the video, leave me a yellow comment down below, and if you're interested in seeing more of these little challenges, don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell icon that will notify you when I post, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!